It is December 3rd, and we are reading Veronica Schanoes' Alice of Fantasia. And I know that this has been, quite a story with her. And I really chalk some of it up to magical realism. And I was telling, and I've been reading Rebecca Searle, and magical realism is a literary genre that blends realistic, mundane settings with supernatural or magical elements, treating the fantastic as ordinary. The style originated in Latin American literature, and features fantastical occurrences like ghosts, telepathy, or magical events without a logical explanation, presented within a story that is otherwise. Did someone say they're not hearing?
No, they said no.
Okay,
I was waving goodbye to Bob. No, I'm fine.
Bye, Bob. Unlike fantasy, magic and magical realism is integrated into everyday life and often serves as a vehicle for social or political commentary. And I do believe that she is playing with magical realism. I've been reading Rebecca Searle. She's popular. It's nothing, it's not a heavy book, but it's all magical realism. And you can.
I understood the first few pages.
Yeah.
I got that. And then the last.
I know it was hard. Judy.
I saw this as Alice in Wonderland and Jabberwocky.
Oh, yes. Jabberwocky.
Yes.
So the first part is Alice in Wonderland, and there's all kinds of references that you can find. There's on page 76, there's Looking Glass. Okay, so there's all that. And then you go on to Jabberwocky, and it says on page 79, Drown in Her Wonderland. I mean, there's a tea party in the.
There's a Red Queen.
Yeah,
this is obviously.
But Mr. D is.
If you follow it with that frame of reference, it's a little bit easier to understand.
I'm going to get to Alice and then Abby, but Myrna, right? Myrna said Mr. D is Disney.
Oh.
I never thought of that.
No.
Mr. D is Disney.
Wait, you're getting like Alice, Abby, and then Elaine. Alice.
Yeah, I agree with you, Judy. And just to extend it a little bit, I feel starting on page 79, it went from being kind of a prose to poetry.
Yeah, the poetry.
I mean, because
I
it
like
was
the
like
poetry.
the laughter daughter with laughter ought to jump down, drown in her wonderland, underhand, a sundered hand, 100 grand. I mean, it really is poetry.
Yes.
I agree with the people. I mean, it was tough to get into it. I mean, besides Alice in Wonderland, I saw, what do I want to say? Which is the one, fairest of, was that Sleeping Beauty?
Sleeping Beauty.
Is it Sleeping Beauty?
No, it's Snow White.
Snow White.
Snow White.
I just saw a little bit of Snow White in it too. I thought, I was just rereading it, and I thought what was interesting on page 74, the author says, for isn't the muse the invention of the artist, the beloved, the creation of the lover? I thought that, in a way, was the essence for me of the story. I thought that was very interesting. Who's creating whom?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I see. So I have Evie, Merle. Evie, Elaine, Merle, Beverly, Lynn. Evie, go. Wait, I'll unmute you. And go.
Two things. The first one. I kept hearing the Midnight Tales of Paul Revere going through my mind when I was reading it. I do want to say that somehow the Audible is available for $2.99 or under $3. And so when I listened to it last night or in the middle of the night or whatever, I got a whole different take on it because I couldn't figure out what she was saying. And it almost, to me, was like almost a
interesting. I get-
kaleidoscope.
I get
And
it free.
especially the rhyming part started to make a little bit more sense, but listening to her beautiful dictation of it, so I probably wouldn't spend full price on it, but because it's on a Kindle special or an Audible special right now,
Credits.
Yeah. Wait,
I
what?
recommend it.
She narrates? It's her narrating?
Yeah, I was just gonna.
Sure, but it's a
All right,
beautiful
I'm gonna look.
voice.
I'll
It's a
look it up.
beautiful narration.
All right. I am way on that.
Do you want me to download it? Because I get.
Elaine.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the first half. And I sort of understood the first half. And I thought it was how females view themselves. When she's looking in the mirror, she's this beautiful woman, but she sees an ugly person.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that says so much about how women view themselves. And I read it at night before I go to bed. And it actually gave me nightmares. Okay. I was thinking of how we belittle ourselves. And I think that that was the first part of the message. Then last night I was reading the second half and I didn't understand all the gibberish or whatever it was. But I thought the first half she had that message.
Fascinating. Because I agree with you. I have Merle, Beverly, and Lynn. Merle.
Well, I thought it was impossible to understand this story without knowing the relationship with Lewis Carroll and the Liddell family. I thought Uncle Tom was
Oh,
Lewis Carroll. He knew all the girls, and he actually had a close relationship with the mother. And I think what I read was the mother started to fall in love with him. They had to totally end their friendship with him and the girls. And so I thought that was really what it was about. I thought it was about Lewis Carroll's relationship with the Liddell daughters. And the mother's name was Lorena, and I guess the oldest daughter was Ina or something. Ina. One of the daughters was Ina. But that's what I thought this story was about. It was like a little historical thing about Lewis Carroll and how a young girl has no identity. She just can't figure out, is she the pretty girl? Is she the girl in the mirror? Is she the ugly girl? This is all about identity of young women. But that's what I thought. I thought Uncle D was Lewis Carroll, and
interesting.
He met them, and he got enough from that relationship to create the story of Alice in Wonderland. So.
Huh. Yikes. Okay. Maybe I'll wait for a couple more stories and I can email her because we emailed Courtney Zofnis and she answered our questions. Beverly and then Lynn. Beverly, wait.
Well, clearly this story is on many levels.
Yes,
The
clearly.
literary, a little bit historical. But when I read it, for me, it was very psychological in that we have an inside and an outside.
Right.
And we see ourselves like she would look in the mirror and see herself totally different than her exterior. And we all have an inside and an outside, but some people are more authentic and their inside is similar to their outside, but for her, it wasn't true. And so I found it in a way, very dark.
Yeah, there were definitely parts of that were super dark. Yeah.
But I have to admit that the third part 3, I don't understand. Period.
Okay.
I was like
All
really
righty.
confused.
I have Lynn, Gail, then Judy. Lynn.
Well, Beverly is getting
And Karen.
Beverly is getting as close as I was in terms of the layers of meaning here. I'm not a great fan, Merle, of a person having to have had the background to understand a story. This was probably one of the most difficult stories I've ever read, particularly the last part, which sounded like Jabberwocky to me. And so what I found as another interpretation, again, is our evil side versus our good sides. And that if you look in the mirror, if she looks in the mirror, that's an ugly person. And she is confronting her dark side when she sees that person. She's angry. She's, I should find the page number. Anyway,
Yeah.
what?
That may be true, but there's no reasons for her to be, that we're not given any reasons for her to be
Yeah.
angry. So it's hard to follow.
Well, it's
I
all,
don't-
it
I don't-
all
I'm
depends
not
on how
under-
you read the words.
Yeah,
though.
of
Well,
course.
that's
They're all
right. I'm
interpretation.
saying when you are reading a story, my students often said, well, is that the interpretation? I said, well, what's your interpretation? I mean,
Of course.
literature is open to interpretation to different people, which is the beauty of literature. And but it has to be in there, and I'll go back and take a look at it where I say this is her dark side, her dark side.
All right, we'll
When
come
she
back.
on
Yeah.
page, no, I found it on
Okay.
page 76. When in the middle of the paragraph, when she looks into the mirror, all she can see the other girl plodding away and thinking nasty thoughts. And there are other places where her picture of herself, her reflection, is one of, I mean, when she sees her outer self, it is the outer versus the interior, and we tend to hide our dark sides in a sort of a hypocritical way. She's quick-witted, she's pretty-faced, and then she looks at the girl in the mirror who's sulky. She's ready to grab the first girl's soul. I mean, this is a soul thief, the stolen one. She's stealing soul. So there aren't positive images about that reflection in the mirror. So I think she's confronting her dark side there, but far be it from me to say that that's correct, but that's how I saw it.
Very interesting. I have Gail, Judy, and Karen, and then Evie and Sue Ellen.
Well,
Gail.
I am also on the same journey as you, Lynn, with this story. When I started reading it in the beginning, I thought, all right, there's a dual personality here. This is not fantasy. This is not Alice in Wonderland. This is up in her brain. And the last part to me is how poetry is always beautiful. It depends on who's reading it. But in her brain is all mixed up. And I didn't get anything out of the last part. And I'm wondering if maybe her brain doesn't either. So.
Oh, that's good.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Judy.
On page 80, there are two references that I think she's trying to bring in. It's the serpent that wriggles at the top of the trees, giggling, snickering. That reminds me of Eden. And then further down, it says, down will come baby, cradle and all. She brings in these references that are so obvious and makes us rethink them because of the context it's in. So she's an interesting writer.
Yeah.
She's just so dark.
Yeah. I have Evie, Susan, and Lynn. Evie.
Yeah.
Karen. No, wait, I'm sorry. That's why I write it down there. Karen. And Karen. I'll unmute you. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. Got it. So and first of all, I just love being part of this group. You guys are all so bright and articulate. I love it.
Thank you.
I come to this with the background of psychiatric nursing, and so you're right on the money when we talk about a disordered brain. And there is some universality in this. We all look in the mirror in the morning and go, "Oh my God, who is that woman?"
Is that my mother?
Look like that. Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's some universality to seeing an image that isn't what you think of ourselves. However, you get the insight into what it's like to have an eating disorder. And the disordered brain doesn't see. Right. So this is how people with eating disorders think.
That's interesting.
And the second thing, I think this woman in her past has probably had some exposure to serious mental illness, because when you look at the clang associations, clang associations are a symptom of psychotic schizophrenia. And so you will see somebody who's very severely psychotically sick acutely in the moment, and they will start doing that. And they'll rock, when they're doing that. And
Yikes.
so it's part of a disordered, sick brain that doesn't have the right chemicals functioning and the right neurons flipping. And so my first thought was that when I first read it, I thought this lady has either experienced or seen up close some pretty significant mental illness. But
I agree.
now that I've listened to you all talk, I see, different possibilities and different poetic interpretations. I will say I agree with somebody that when I was reading this aloud, at the end, after I finished the story, I decided to go back and read the Clang part aloud. And it took on a little different, it wasn't quite so dark. It was more musical. It was more melodic. It was more, there was more art in it, I think.
Very nice.
So,
Very nice.
yeah.
Abby, Susan, and then Lynn. Abby.
Yeah, I mean, I really could relate to the mental stuff, and I really don't know what it is to see oneself clearly. I have no idea what that is. Maybe I'm just different, but I know that my mind goes all different places, and I see all different, especially in the middle of the night when your mind goes to all kinds of, whether it's your kids or your spouse or your parents or whatever. Your mind goes all, and you see yourself differently, and you see the different reflections. But also in terms of the audio part, I almost felt like part of the poetic repetition was almost, to me, it's like hitting the return key on your computer to kind of emphasize the sound of what you're saying. Maybe not the same words, but yeah, just kind of underscoring it. I mean, I just think that there's so many layers to this. Without, I think the part about Alice in Wonderland, and I really have not enough knowledge of course, of nursery or fairy tales. But I just think there's so many layers to it. But I do question also, together with some of the other stories we read, some of the issues that the author might have.
Yeah. Susan, and then Lynn, and then Beverly. Susan. Well,
Okay. Well, first of all, I guess to me, the whole thing seems like a fairy tale. And when we have read fairy tales in our life, they all, and you think about, say, like Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider and sat down. And nobody wants a spider to sit on them or sit by them. And all the poetry and everything, I kept thinking about fairy tales. And that's what
fairy tales.
that's what it seemed like to me.
yeah.
The whole thing was make believe and like a fairy tale.
Here, 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 here. Lynn, then Alice and Beverly. Lynn.
Okay, first let me respond to Susan. I did a little research on this author, and these are fairy tales. She has taken known fairy tales and overlaid them with these stories in order to convey a point. What the point is something that I'm grappling with when I read the stories. But I want to go back to what Karen said. As I was reading the story, and it was on page 76, I had this epiphany. And the words disassociated personality came into my head. And so I looked up disassociated personality, and it says it's an identity confusion. A person having multiple distinct personality states. And I thought this really describes this person or the person who's narrating it. And I agree with Karen's diagnosis, whatever it is, but my disassociated personality seems to me, this is when you're having, it's almost bipolar. I mean, at times that she was up And then there were times she was down. She was up when she was not looking in the mirror. When she was looking in the mirror, she was pretty down. So the question is, what's the point? I mean, I mean, if she's trying to relay political
No.
ideas, or is she saying that we are, all of us have moments of identity confusion, or are we hypocrites about the first comments?
Thank you.
You know, something like that. Is our interior not in coordination with our outer appearance? Maybe the point is we all need help.
It could definitely be. I have, who do I have? Alice, Beverly, Gail, and Judy. And Ellen.
I just reread the last sentence of the story, and I think it sums up a lot of what everybody
absolutely.
said.
I was gonna say.
Life, all life, rife with strife, and a gleam with dreams. So it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Moves phantom-wise in deep disguise, in saddened but still brilliant eyes. So, that I guess we're all, it's all a struggle for all of us. And there's not more than even a struggle. There's, really dark sides of our lives and our thoughts. But it's still is saddened, but still brilliant eyes. I mean, it makes me cry. I mean, but I don't know. I think that sums up a lot of
I
the
think the
story
last,
and what everybody said.
agreed. Gail, Judy, and Ellen. Gail.
Yeah. If you look on 76 also, it's she's worried that one day the other little girl will step out of the mirror and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
When you read a story, it isn't always going to tell you about the rest of the world. This character is like an onion. This is part of her life, and she stripped away what she saw in there and really was afraid. She didn't want that other person to take over, even though the other person was her. She didn't want that to happen. She was struggling with that.
No. And many teens do. Judy and Ellen.
I think, I agree, Alice. I think the last sentence is key. And it describes the dichotomy that Karen mentioned, because we have both in us. We have saddened but brilliant eyes. We see the world as it is, or as we see it, and then we still have that insight.
Ellen.
We're now kind of all thinking more together, I think. We haven't talked a lot. The last sentence for sure gives you positive as well as negative, but we haven't talked about the sisters and the very beginning. And when we were talking about the something that Lynn said about the dissociated personality, when she's with Uncle D, if that's Disney or whatever, when she's being admired by her sisters, they all think she's beautiful. When she's interacting, she's a happier person. It should be her flip side, which we all have, is looking in the mirror. And so if you look at it that way I take the positive of interaction with people, relationships, can makes life a whole lot better. How awful would it be if we didn't have any of that?
On the bottom of 76, one afternoon while she and her sisters are on a boating expedition with Uncle D and his friend the duck. I mean, that goes into the Disney pile. Another thing we can talk about is how does this story depict trauma? And the ways people remember painful experiences. A memory in the story is nonlinear, which is just not easy. There's more and more books, I feel, that are nonlinear. They go back and forth, and
it makes a difference.
It's hard. And I listen and read, and sometimes it's very, very hard. Fantastical distortions often map onto moments of fear or violation. Elaine.
Okay, I think it's interesting going back to the book we read before in this book that these women are opening up themselves
Yeah.
to our self-analyzing them. And how many of us,
Well, I don't know if she knows that.
well, no, but how many of us would be that honest and that open? And I mean, this is difficult, more difficult than the last book. The last
Yes.
we could understand what she was saying.
But in the last book, it's Spilt Milk, and if anyone wants to read it, I can get you a copy. But she tells a story about how she shoplifted, not just, candy, but over $250 worth of clothes. And it's a felony, and she was arrested. I do think that takes great bravery.
Yeah, well, this is
I don't know if that happened to me.
But then also in this book, it takes great bravery to write what she's writing.
Yeah, I agree.
And open up yourself to that kind of arts examination of her.
I think, and they're both millennial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I have Merle and then Alice. Merle, I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm still kind of hung up on who Uncle D is, and I have to tell you that Lewis Carroll's real name was Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, D-O-G.
Oh, okay, so maybe
And
could be him.
you know that he was photographing the girls, and he did lovely photography. Nothing wrong with his photography. So it says that that Lewis Carroll had a dedicated and prolific career as a photographer, which he pursued as a hobby from 1856 to 1880. He created an estimated 3,000 images, including portraits of family, children, and acquaintances, as well as landscapes and still lifes. So, I mean, to me, if you want to combine the Dodgson and Disney, I still think that this is a story.
Interesting. Yeah.
Extrapolated from Lewis Carroll and his relationship with the Liddells. And that the whole second part is totally imagination and fantasy. And I think that's what Lewis Carroll was good at. So that's okay. That's my little argument.
Alice.
Yeah, this kind of goes along with what Merle says, but as Lynn said earlier, everybody interprets things differently. But I picked up, especially when Uncle D and Alice went into the
Dark room.
the dark room,
Yeah.
I picked up very inappropriate.
I did too.
I don't know. It was like, I
What's
don't
going
know.
on?
Well, I think
I don't know his relationship with all these young girls. It just sort of gave me the willies a little bit.
Yeah.
What-
This. Go ahead.
No, okay, that's what I was going to say about that.
Yeah.
But Vanessa, I just have to talk about the going back to spilt milk. I just have to say something. Yeah. I'm reading a memoir by Molly Shannon. You probably all know her from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Okay. She and her sister were raised by her father, who was an alcoholic and a very weird fellow. They did everything. They shoplifted. They got in an airplane without tickets. They did. I can't. It's like a litany of things, and it's made me think that I and maybe a lot of us grew up in a bubble. That none of that would have been acceptable.
Yes.
But you know what? That's the way they lived, and it was. You know what? It was pretty acceptable.
Yeah.
He went to parties with them when they were underage, and they all got drunk together. He and his daughters. So you know what? It's like that would have never happened in my world. But
we're in the bubble. But I want to go back. I want to go back to the first thing you said about the creepiness.
Yes.
What forms of gendered violence or oppression appear in the story, and what commentary is Schanoes offering? The story portrays both explicit threats to the girls, such as predatory behavior or physical danger, and subtler forces like silencing, disbelief, and societal expectations of female obedience. Thoughts on that? Barb, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi. Okay. That part gave me the creeps too. And it really did. And I looked up to see who, about this author and about who this was with and all of that. So I got into the Lydell type of thing. But in the meantime, I'm wondering, there's so many times when something happens to you that's really horrible that you just repress it and you don't talk about it. And when she came out of the room, it sounded like everything was okay. And I was still, I still felt the whole thing was pretty creepy.
Before I go to Evie, I do think in 2025, we look at this differently. I mean, our eyes have been opened. It's after Me Too. It's after all this gaslighting that our government has been doing. I mean, we're different. We have been, I feel, changed. Maybe changed for the better, as they say in Wicked, but we for the good. We just look at things differently. If I had read this, I have to go look and see how old this is, but if I had read this, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I just wouldn't have had the same. I wouldn't have. Evie, go ahead. And then Lynn.
Yeah, I saw it more as a crush on somebody in power, an older person that you might have a crush on, and the fantasy going, or maybe wishful thinking on a naive basis of a young girl, as opposed to maybe I'm going prior to the Me Too movement, where it was just kind of an innocent crush, but maybe in her mind not so innocent or wishful thinking.
Interesting, very interesting. Lynn and then Judy.
Okay,
Lynn.
I am ignorant of this Lydell family. A question before I respond to something Barbara said, which gave me another interpretation of the story. Was there any question that there was inappropriate behavior between this Lydell family and is it, Barbara? Yeah, Barbara.
From a lot of it, they from what I've read, there might have been something between the mom and Carol. But there's no direct evidence of it. I mean, it's more like rumor. And then there were the girls as well, and they no longer, the family separated, they were no longer friends. I guess he was friends with it was a very large family. There were like 10 children, and he was friends with one of the brothers. And when he was out, he would take them out on his boat, and he would tell girls these stories on the boat. And Alice was the main character. But there's no direct evidence, but I found it pretty creepy.
In an analysis that I read, that they thought this story was his obsession with Alice. So I didn't know that Alice Liddell or whatever. Anyway, something you said gave me another idea here that maybe our protagonist had repressed all these feelings or was repressing all these feelings, and they're starting to surface. And as she looks in the mirror, she begins to see an ugly part of herself that she's not happy with and grabbing her soul. And that is an interesting concept, that maybe she feels that she has so entered the dark side in terms of her thoughts about this man, that she's trying to come to grips with it. But I have no idea. I mean, that's just something you said. Another interpretation. Sometimes when we've done something horrible and try to repress it, we can't look at ourselves in the mirror. You know that expression? It's hard to look at ourselves in the mirror. So she's seeing something in the mirror now that she's not very happy about, to say the least.
Well, maybe she blames herself.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Right. I read the story twice. Now I have to go back and read it 10 more times.
I know, too. Trying to figure out the last couple of pages, I said to myself this morning, I do not know what's going on here. It was fabulous rhyming. She's a brilliant writer. but it was beyond me. And as we're talking, I'm thinking Jabberwocky, Jabberwocky. And and I like Karen's interpretation. This is her mind spinning out of control to me.
I think the thing that I think of when I hear you all talking about this realism and fantastical realism is Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Oh,
And he did this in 100 Years of Solitude. It was crazy like this, where it went back and forth, and there was weird segments, and so it's a whole style of writing that I think is hard to read because our brains like to have things in order. So when you read something that's disordered,
right.
your brain wants to fight it. Your brain says, "Wait a minute, no, no, no." And so we're not comfortable with that. We're not comfortable reading that kind of, or at least I'm not comfortable reading that kind of stuff. It made me stop. And I wish I would have gone back this morning and reread the whole story again um, before this.
Obviously, something has happened in her life to push her into this state. Sue Roberts.
Hi, Sue.
Hey, everybody. So I have a terrible voice, but we're talking about a child, maybe a teenager in the beginning. And when if something happens, whether it is real or imagined, you put the children tend to put it on a shelf because they can't make heads or tails out of what this was, but it made them feel icky. Then in later years, as they start unpacking things in their life, this is where it gets really difficult because now it's made such an impression on them that that's where she's looking in the mirror and she's getting these two people. Huh? A good one and a bad one. And yes, we all have that within us, but 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 sometime the illness, and I really appreciated Karen bringing in the point about mental illness because that's what hit me right away. And normally it hits teenagers, so, they have their first episode. So so it her dilemma is not quite the right word, but the dichotomy of good and evil in the end is kind of spinning out of control.
Right, right.
And that's the last part that we all didn't get. And that's because, as Karen said, the brain is all the wires are all jangling together, and it doesn't make sense. But for a lot of people who are ill, that's kind of what they feel and sound like, and try to describe what's happening to them. So I don't know how this ends up, but the whole thing to me was definitely the fantastical to Alice going down the rabbit hole, but that's the personality disorders that that happen to some people. So this was kind of a realistic thing in my mind to what happens to different people. End of story.
I see Beverly's hand up.
Yeah. So, I think everything is I thought it was a brilliant story. And I just want to put it back on a realistic level for 1 minute. Is that I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I see my hair is, even though it's short, it's standing up from sleeping and I have no makeup on. And I look at my aging body and then what do? I do everything I can to present something different to the world and to myself when I look in the mirror than what is actually real. because the makeup and the clothes and the adornments, they're not real, but then they become real. And that's how we present ourselves to kind of go through the world. And that's in this story. And then all of a sudden, I have a little bit of an epiphany about the part 3, because when I see what's going on in the world, I feel totally like part 3. How is this happening? What's happening over here and what's happening over there? And how is it possible? And it's so insane and crazy, and I can't make any sense out of it. But she does give us, the author, hope in the last part, because the last sentence, which was remarked on before, is really brilliant, because life is strife, but we have dreams, and we hope that even though things are in disguise, but we still can see, it makes me cry, with brilliant eyes, and somewhere down the way, there is hope. So I see this story, it's a literary expertise or treatise. It has historical value, it's psychological, and there's this realistic level. I think it was a very short, brilliant piece.
Yeah. I have a question. You're muted. You're muted.
Me? No.
No, Vanessa.
Oh. Where is she? Oh.
Come back to us.
That's why. I was wondering why you couldn't hear me. We've been screaming. Okay, it's Judy's turn. I don't know how that turned off. And then they couldn't hear us. Okay, yay! Okay. All right, Judy, go. Judy.
My comment is about something that Evie said that brought this to my mind, and I had underlined it on page 77. Uncle D saw the other girl. She knows that he will not betray her, for they have secrets together.
Right.
She and he, mainly that she's going to marry him when she grows up. Together, she is sure they can thwart the wicked plans of the looking glass girl. So she's the looking glass girl, and she has these other feelings. And this guy, as Alice said, is a little creepy.
Yeah.
Yes. What kind of secrets does he have with this other girl?
Right.
Not Alice in Wonderland, Alice Cole.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yes. I meant Alice Cole. Okay. All right. So that was my point. It just came to my mind with all these ideas.
Okay, I got you, Lynn, in 1 second. Ellen, did you have a?
Well, if you go back and you look at the end of each section, and then not even the beginning of the next, but the end of each section kind of wraps things up and goes on with this whole dichotomy, and that keeps getting repeated in the story.
Yeah. Evie, you had your hand up before. Are you
Yeah.
good?
First of all, I agree with what everybody said, but I just listened to it as a while ago. What really made me feel a lot more comfortable and good is when Lynn said that she was having a hard time figuring out parts of this. So thank you, Lynn. You just kind of, the fact that you were struggling with it, okay, and that's a funny one.
I have to tell you, this was one of the hardest stories for me to decipher. But this discussion was phenomenal. It
always is. It is.
Enormously. But I have a question. The first line, we never came back to this. Where it's very easy to forget Elsie, oldest of the Treacle sisters, as she sits at the bottom of the well and waits to come up. What is that all about?
And there's another part in the story where it says that Ina's the oldest sister, and she's not if Elsie is alive.
I didn't understand that.
So I don't get that either.
I didn't get that
That's a
either.
really good point. That's a really good point.
I have Alice, then Lynn again, then Merle. Alice.
Yeah. Well, this goes along.
And Karen. All right, go ahead. Alice, go ahead.
Okay, this goes along, I think, what Susan said earlier about, the fairy tales. I mean, it's the combination of fairy tales, nursery rhymes. Alice in Wonderland really isn't a fairy tale. it's a little, I think it's a little different category, but you know, they are all very, it might have been Judy, somebody said something about, you know, some of the nurses, they're so dark. You know, I just remember my mother, when I was a kid, she used to sing stuff to me to get me to go to sleep. And I remember she used to sing Rockabye Baby.
Oh, that's
and
terrible. It's terrible. When the bow breaks, the cradle will
What I
fall.
was saying is, you know, the flip side of it is, you know, also we all grew up with the Disney-fication of all these stories, which,
Yes.
I mean, they were, all these grim fairy tales were
Yes.
very dark. And,
Yes.
you know, I think
Lucky.
that's what I mean, that's what she's relying on for her
Here, here.
source material.
Yeah. Okay. Merle, then Lynn. Merle, go ahead. Oh, and then Karen. Karen. After Merle. Go ahead. Merle.
Okay, well, the title of this story is that it's a Fantasia. And
Yes.
so, I mean, we're sort of racking our brains and trying to figure what this thing means. But what is a Fantasia anyway? It can mean an imaginative idea, dreamlike scene, or creation of the imagination. I thought what was brilliant was the ending was she captured how to write down the racing thoughts of an addled mind. Just how do you capture racing thoughts of someone whose mind is going so many different directions? That as far as, you know, if you go with the Lewis Carroll interpretation, the Liddell family was very attached to him. It was the mother who had inappropriate feelings toward him and had to end the friendship. And so if you think he seemed creepy, I don't know if it was coming from him as an artist trying to teach a child photography. I mean, I thought the scene felt creepy too, but in real life, the photography was a part of his artistry. So anyway, I thought she did a brilliant job with the racing thoughts, and I don't think we're supposed to understand it because it is a Fantasia.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Karen, and then Lynn. Karen, go ahead.
I on page 77 or 75, I can't see. I circled in this first full paragraph. She became a stunningly unremarkable adult. So this child of this young teenage girl, however old she is, she's not a teenager. She's still fantasizing that she's going to marry the uncle. But she turned into a stunningly unremarkable adult. And I just thought that was so strong. That's it.
Here. Lynn.
Well, at the bottom of 74, I mean, if you think why I was confused, I mean, he goes back and forth. She goes back and forth here. Or perhaps here was a frightening thought, like there weren't any others in the book. Perhaps she had no spirit after all. Perhaps she was as dull and respectable.
Sorry.
Perhaps she was as dull and respectable and tame as her sister, or perhaps she did have a spirit and it was a nasty, vicious thing, not at all congenial to flights of fancy or journeys of adventure. Perhaps the exterior did reflect the interior, in which Alice must have been a sparkling, ethereal, unsettling spirit after all, because not even Ino could deny that her sister was beautiful, so beautiful as to merit a white stone. I mean, this again, I think it's getting very repetitive, redundant, that a person or the author or someone is really going back and forth in her mind, looking at life and not trying to decide what it is to believe in. She is just totally confused. And do we have any idea of how old Alice is at this point?
I don't think so.
No.
Not for any of this.
Except that she's not an adult.
She's not an adult, but she's no longer a baby.
But she's not a child.
She's not a child.
But she's not an adult.
I'm not sure if we're supposed to impose the author's state of mind in this, or she is just creating the idea of a young girl in great distress, but I think it threw me enough to throw me off kilter, I have to say. I mean, I'm not a linear thinker, but I am an organized thinker. And oh boy, reading this,
It wasn't easy.
it was not easy.
Well,
Not
Okay,
easy.
I have all right. Terry, Elaine, Judy, Myrna. Terry.
I've been kind of quiet because I have a terrible cold and I can't talk. I've got a lot going on here, but I did read as we were talking more about Lewis Carroll, and there was a rumor that he wanted to marry 11-year-old Alice.
Oh.
And
Okay.
and it wasn't confirmed, but that was the rumor, and it was not that unusual because other people, different people in these families married a 12-year-old. It was done in those
Might have been a
days.
Trump.
Ew. Elaine, Judy.
Okay, I think when we get out of this nonsensical talking that she writes, you can go back to everyone's life.
Yes.
And I think that we all question who we are, what we are. And she's doing it in a roundabout way. But you think about it, and you have to remember that this was taken, she's talking about like the 1800s when people did marry young. You only lived to 30 or 40, so you had to get going. And I think that if we take away all the gobbledygook, it's how we as young women thought of ourselves. We question all the time. As mothers, we question. As older women, as Beverly was saying, you question who you are all the time. And this is a story about questioning who you are. I mean, she's doing it in a whimsical, sort of strange way, but if you strain it down, that's the essence of the story.
Here. I think also sometimes women our age are invisible.
Yes.
But that's right. Myrna, then Judy.
We could have a whole conversation.
Exactly. Myrna.
I have just one little thing to say. In reading on page 75, it says that even Ina could not deny that her sister was beautiful, so beautiful as to merit a white stone. So I decided to look up what that was. It's from the Bible. It's given to those who overcome and and it's as a reward for faithfulness.
Oh,
Interesting.
very interesting.
Very.
Judy.
And I notice on page 74, it says, will it always be a matter of prettiness? And that made me think that she was a teenager.
Yeah. I've been thinking about what our Alice said about this. Is this a fairy tale? And I Googled it. We can Google now. It's not a traditional fairy tale because it was written by a specific author, Lewis Carroll, rather than originating in oral folklore. It's classified as a children's fiction and a fantasy novel. And because we associate it with the Disney film, we can all see it. Because that's our common culture. She's blonde. She's got the blue dress on. We can see that. So I just had to say, Alice. Excellent point. Lynn.
I just had a thought about something in my own life. And I'm wondering if this also might be a theme that we are, and also what Beverly said, that we are not always happy between what we're showing to the people and how we really feel.
Yes.
So when people say, how are you feeling? And you say, fine, you don't really mean that. And that causes what they call dissociative. I know Karen can give me the name. What do you call that? I don't know. Dissonance.
Especially to my kids.
Dissonance. Anyway, she doesn't like what she sees in herself when she looks in the mirror. And I often say, why did I say that? I didn't feel that way. Or, that's not how I really feel. That's not me, really.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's part of this as well. So it doesn't have to be a teenager. It can be of all ages, really.
Yeah. Judy, last words? No. Gail?
I don't know if it's last words or opening up another
But we can't open up because I have another thing after this, but go ahead.
Elsie, we still didn't say
Oh,
anything. Is
Elsie.
Elsie the one that
Comes
nobody wants to talk about?
Yeah.
Because something happened?
She's still in the well.
So she's at the bottom, but really, we've been talking about not talking about certain things. Maybe they just can't talk about Elsie.
That's, yeah, I mean,
Or maybe she died.
yeah, it's too
I know.
painful.
I know.
What happened to her?
I know a little
Well,
bit.
but Ina at least is re-mentioned.
Right.
Elsie's never re-mentioned.
Before we wrap up today, I just want to say that on Sunday at, and he's super cute. On Sunday, we have Andrew Poor Rancher. He's a professor at Yale. He's talking about American Maccabee Theater, Roosevelt and the Jews. We've had him before. He's a great speaker. 12:30, light lunch, lots of bagels, and no orange juice. And he'll speak from 1 to 2. There, when you say no orange juice, that means somebody has complained and somebody has. So please,
Why is there no orange juice?
because it's not in the morning.
Oh, okay.
That's why. But there will be tuna and egg salad.
Oh, that's good.
your okay. That's your. How we did it. So I'm trying to stave off the orange juice riot. The first time we did it, adult enrichment here, and Dario was still alive. May he rest in peace. He came to me. He goes, "We don't have any orange juice." I said, "Oh, that's okay." And people were right. Where's the orange juice?
Oh my God.
I tell when I get here early in the morning and I'll say to the security, I go, "Are the lots and bagels here?" He goes, "Yeah, they just came in." I said, "If the speaker didn't show up, but if the lox and bagels does not show up, I'll have a riot on my hands." Okay, so that's what's happening.
Vanessa, Sandy,
Yes.
I didn't send in a reply, but could you put David and me down?
Yes, I absolutely will. Thank you.
We love the program.
Oh, thank you, Sandy. You're gonna love. I don't know if I should call him Andrew. He's speaking first at my girlfriend's synagogue, so I'm gonna say, "What did you call him?" You say Andrew, professor. And he's younger than I am. Anyway, other things coming up. Oh my God, I almost forgot. Tomorrow there's a nature walk with the Green Group, and tomorrow night, Nature Israel, Haganat Teva is going to be here. The nature walk, you got to walk, but Haganat Teva you can do online. And we always have Shabbat and watch your Makomenhol. And we meet again. Pardon? There's always a lot going on. We meet again on December 17th. So, and I laid out the books. No, I laid out the stories, and this will take us till May. So that'll give,
I guess I should buy a book.
well,
I'm taking it out of the library.
it's up to you. It's up to you.
Vanessa,
Yes,
do we have to
November
register?
17th, she said.
for Sunday. If you tell me now, I'll register you.
Okay, I'm not positive. I have to look at my calendar. Put us
All right,
down.
Lynn.
Put
So are
us
we
down.
reading
Put us
fast
down.
forward?
Put us
All
down.
right,
Say that.
Karen.
Reading the next story.
All right, Karen, did you want me to register you?
Are we reading the next
Oh,
story?
no.
Yes, we're
I'm
reading
in
the next
Arizona.
story, phosphorus.
Oh, that's even,
Yes.
Okay.
I snuck that.
Okay, that's all right. All right, if you have any questions, email me. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.